Thanks for joining us, guys and gals, and other genders, what have you. So this is the Brunch Crew podcast, episode 2, and joined here by a couple of other fine fellows here in the cannabis industry, and we're here to talk about the main topic anyway, the launch of the cannabis industry here in Thailand. How has it been? How has it gone? Firstly, can we start with a few years ago, there was a decriminalization and what they called the amnesty program.
Oh yeah, and I got my amnesty. And man, I'm telling you, bro, people were so jealous for the longest time because I got amnesty, I think it was 2018. It was either 2018 or
2019,
2019.
I think?
Yeah, it was early 2019. I got amnesty, and now the amnesty program that they came out with, the FDA started out saying, like, listen, we know people smoke weed, like, come out, tell us who you are, tell us what you're smoking, what you're using, and we'll give you amnesty for it. Now, all the underground people, bro, all the underground people are like, this is a setup, dude. This is like, don't do it. At the time, I was an advisor to the Thai National Farmers Council. And they called me up, they're like, do it. We've already filled out all the paperwork for you. It's written out exactly what exactly what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to say. Just fill out how much weed you got. And on top of that, not only did you have to go to the FDA office and tell them that you use cannabis, you had to bring all the weed with you.
That was the part they didn't necessarily tell you. And a lot of the people, the funniest part was the vast majority of the people who registered on the last day possible to register.
Like myself.
Like myself too.
Yes.
And a lot of the people that were there could not register for this reason because they didn't bring any cannabis with them.
Right.
They had pictures, they were showing on their phone, they had printouts of pictures, but they didn't have anything. And they walked out, and I saw people, a Thai guy, he walks out of the door and he rips up all his documents and he just like throws them on the ground. I'm like, oh, man, not successful, I guess.
Right. I mean, my ass brought a kilo of weed down there and slapped it right on the table. All this extract, all these tinctures, and then I had pictures of my grow. And so I wanted to register 30 plants, and I showed the FDA official a picture of my grow, and he damn near shit himself right there. He's like, this isn't personal use. This is a whole freaking Muban. And this was when I was out in Ayutthaya, Pratum Thani. I had like 30 bomber plants, and it went back and forth. He didn't want to give it to me, and at the very end, he finally just signed it off. 30 plants, a kilo of weed, and 20 grams of extract.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I had no weed, and I had a bunch of oil, a very small amount, I would say. And, I'm like, oh, it's in my car. Let me go grab the oil at least. I can register that. Yeah. And he's like, how much oil is this? I'm like, oh, it's about 100 milliliters, It was maybe 3 milliliters, but never mind that. But he didn't mind, whatever. He was like, I was speaking Thai and I was being very polite, and he was kind of okay with it. And it looked like about 100 milliliters, and tough to gauge. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. But my understanding is with that is that it's still valid.
It's still valid. Yes, that's my understanding as well right now.
So it's valid permanently. Forever.
Yeah. That's, it's not like it doesn't carry as much weight today as it did, prior to June 9th. But
right, but for extract, you're supposed to have some kind of permit if you have extract that's over 0.3% THC. So that would be valid for this.
It would still be valid for that, yes.
So that's kind of interesting.
Now,
but only 20,000 people on all of Thailand got this thing.
Right.
So
have you ever had to use your amnesty, though?
No.
Okay, I have. I got busted in Petschaboon. I was coming up from Hua Hin, and I had my kids in the car. I don't know. My car might have been smelling a little of smoke, and I come in through Petschaboon, and they stopped me right there, and the cop's just sticking his head in the car. I'm like, oh shit! All right, where's this going? He's like, yeah, you pull off. We're gonna search your car. And they're going through the car. They take me out to the front, and my kids were in the car, and my kids were like, I don't know, Dad. Like when I finally back, they said jackpot, and then they ran out with all your weed. And I had half a kilo on me at the time, and they bring me up to the front in Petschaboon. It's like a drug checkpoint. And they're like, all right, here's a cup, go piss in the cup for us. And I go, why would you waste a cup on me? I'll tell you exactly what's in my piss. You're going to find marijuana in there. And everybody in line, there's like 12 Thai guys in line, just went, what did he just say? I said it in Thai, And like everybody's like, what did he just say? And I pull out that piece of paper. Bro, the police were giving me they're like, oh, thank you so much, that you actually went through the time to go do this. The jackpot guys come over with the weed, and he goes, give it back to him. He's a patient.
Dude, that thing is gold. I do not leave the house without that paper.
Right. I got a picture on my phone. In fact, I spilt bong water all over mine, dude, so it's like, it looks all nasty.
I have many copies of that paper in every backpack.
So I'm not familiar with this. What was the impetus behind this amnesty? And they were just like, hey, if you've been growing weed, you can keep growing weed? And
I think it was not well thought out, not well planned. In the beginning of the decriminalization, that this is the first program that they came out with. So at that time, I do other business here in Chiang Mai. So myself and my staff, we went down to the FDA office to just say, hey, like Baba said here, people are thinking that this is a trap. And, we want to do consulting in the space. So what's going on? And can we tell people, hey, you can join this space. It's okay. They're not trying to trap you. So, from my understanding and what the FDA told me right from the beginning years ago, this is a program that they're setting out to do in earnest. What would be the point? If they're trying to make money off of this scheme, if they're just going to trap people, then no one's going to join it, and they're not going to be able to show any success with the program. So, no, they're not doing that, and, they want people to come register.
It was initially set up to protect patients. Now, the big driving force before it went into the FDA came from people like Lung Tu and Dodio. Those were the big guys from the Green Party who they were huge activists. They were one of the first catalysts to get us to where we are today. Them, Highland, other people. Unfortunately, really it saddens me. Lung Tu died 3 years ago, and Dodio died last year. And Dodio had terminal illness, and the reason that they did this is they were giving out oil. They were giving out oil for free to all these patients. And they were in the FDA offices. Our teams were in the FDA offices, and it was made to protect those patients, the people that were using oils. I mean, come on, you can't send somebody who's using oil for a terminal disease, for a terminal illness to jail.
Yep.
And that's why it was initially set up.
Okay.
I wonder how many of the 20,000 was for actual medical purposes. Since then...
All of them were. Because I feel that all cannabis use is medical, whether you know it or not. So...
Cheers to that. Speaking of which, why don't you
do the
get
honors
started?
here?
Yeah, why don't you do the honors?
All right.
Please. So, past the amnesty program years ago until June 20 or June 9th.
6-9. It's now cannabis. Yep.
Nice.
We're taking
So up until June 9, it was very questionable. After June 9, the floodgates opened. some insiders knew this was kind of coming. So I think for, tourists or people who are not native, still to this day, I see people on the different forums, on Reddit, on Facebook, on the different cannabis communities. There's people who ask, hey, is it actually legal in Thailand? Am I going to get arrested? People still ask this today. So I think, we're still very, very early in this green wave.
Oh, for sure. And there were definitely some far-sighted people like Sean over at Green Dog who had positioned themselves before, June 9th, and then we're in a good place to take advantage of that. And then, kind of like you're saying, I'm part of that expat community here who was taken totally by surprise by it, and especially by the way that it was just suddenly launched on us. So it was, it was a pretty exciting moment.
I mean, I think, I was looking at just the other day a photo I took right at the end of June of a map here in Chiang Mai from Google Maps, and I just searched, I think just cannabis or dispensary, something like that. And it was a very quite a good amount of dispensaries at the end of June even. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is right at the launch. But now, if you do the same search, wow.
It is.
And
it is.
people have taken kindly to make a nice cannabis map here, which, there is a lot now. And I think it is grown a lot, but Bangkok, though.
Bangkok, yeah. I'll tell you all about it if you can open this grinder.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, Bangkok's gone insane. I don't know if you guys have been down there recently, but you go up and down Sukhumvit Road, and every block there's 3 or 4 shops. I haven't seen 3 right next to each other yet, but I'm sure it's sure it's coming.
Well, the joke is that we're like, so I'm on a block. I was the first dispensary to open, or my wife's dispensary was the first to open, and then another one popped up next to us, and they were fantastic. It's called Cloud. It's run by my friend Dimitri. You should definitely go there. They have great weed. And then like last week, so it's my shop is here, and then there was P. Ann's shop. She had a little restaurant, and then it was Cloud, and then P. Ann disappeared and popped in. Suddenly there's another dispensary. So it's 3 dispensaries. P. Ann left. She closed her restaurant. She opened her own dispensary on the other end of town. And soon it's going to be like Inception. There's going to be dispensaries inside of dispensaries. So that's kind of where we're going.
The awesome thing, and what says a really cool thing about the cannabis market here in Chiang Mai, you have right at the heart of this city, I don't know, one of the busiest areas, one of the most recognizable areas, Taipei Gate, 3 dispensaries right next to each other, right next to a McDonald's. So
it's pretty well situated, as they say.
All your bases covered.
Yeah, we're good.
So I think it has been a really wonderful evolution and a really fast evolution, and especially if you think about other markets, I think you said this yesterday, it really hasn't been like a launch in other marketplaces.
No.
I think about Canada, kind of.
Sure.
How it's maybe similar to Canada, and in the first few years of legalization in Canada, the growers couldn't keep up, and there was a lot of, investment coming in. So I think that's what we're starting to see now.
But I don't think it really compares in a lot of ways to other markets that we've seen emerge because of the almost total lack of regulation. And it has been kind of like a very fertile kind of breeding ground for lots of people to try different things, but it's also an unstable marketplace, and people aren't really sure exactly what's going to happen at any given moment. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Chime in a little bit. Let's
Yeah.
put down this doobie for half a second here. You know what this really reminds me of? The sort of the void that we're in right now. It reminds me a lot of Proposition 215 in California, where in late 96, early 97, something like that, Proposition 215 came in. And that had allowed it to be legal for medical patients. And it was basically open in California for medical use, between 96 and they didn't reach actual legislation until 2018, I believe. So 21 years, California was in a similar situation. Not quite as extreme as what we are right now, but I think that's the closest sort of relation that you can kind of get to what's going on there.
The big difference being that because it remained federal illegal,
Yes.
people were operating and getting raided by the feds.
Yes.
So, which cannot happen here.
Yeah.
So that's probably a very poignant difference. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, speaking of California, I mean, and what's going on here, like, I really think that, going back to the Canada comparison, there's just not enough being grown locally to support the demand, simply. So that's why we're seeing so much imported stuff. I think people are relabeling things. I don't know. Who knows what's going on?
Everything is going on. Whatever you imagine is going on, and things that you haven't thought of are probably going on. But I do think that the Thai cannabis industry is ramping up remarkably fast, and the quality that I am seeing is shocking. It's getting better and better week on week, month after month. And
absolutely.
And what I'm really hoping is that there's a lot of avenues for a lot of these young guys and girls who are growing to have legal paths forward in the industry. And I think it's just a massive boon to the community in general.
Absolutely, yeah. The more time passes, the better we're seeing from the local Thai growers. And it's really great to see. And at this event, promoting a lot of the local people with the contest. I hope we see more of these style events where we're featuring all this wonderful things. So, speaking of wonderful things.
Trying to do that. This is the reason I wasn't in the competition yesterday.
Take your time. How about the different strains that you've seen? What's your favorite strain that you've ever had?
Ever had?
Ever.
It's a difficult thing. I grew some blueberry once. That was my favorite of all things, I think. It was one of those interesting seeds that was always good from when it was a tiny seedling. And it grew into some of the best smoke I ever had. It was a clone I kept for about 3 or 4 years. And it was just lovely. Every time I had it, it was gone in a week or a month. But it was very, very nice. In Chiang Mai, the nicest thing I've found so far was the truffle butter at the OT dispensary. Oh, really?
There you go.
That was one of the nicest ones that I've, read the name. It's psychological that you read a name and you recognize a smell. But that was one specifically that I opened up and went, oh, that smells like truffly butter. And it was very, very nice.
Yeah, it is definitely a psychological thing. They get you with the name. You read the name first.
Yeah.
Then you smell it and you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's what it smells like.
But then the stuff you had recently was ice banana, and it was like a slightly spicy banana. It's really nice.
I had several people here at the event tell me the same thing. But yeah, I think...
Have you tried Fruitonium?
Not yet.
Oh, we're gonna change your opinion.
Is that what this is right here?
Right across. Yeah, this
Nice,
is our
all right.
outdoor organic Fruitonium. Yeah. And,
Well, I don't know if anyone's had Fruitonium, but it's probably one of the best strains you'll find here in Chiang Mai, here in Thailand.
Oh man, I have to taste test everything that comes to the shop, so I smoke a lot of weed. So I don't have a favorite. I have a lot that I really like. There was a Gorilla Cookies that was incredibly well grown not long ago that was fantastic. But this, what is it, Citradelic Sunset by Rabuds? is a really, really good strain. And yeah, I really like that one a lot. And Sandy knows her stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Is it good? I'll have to come over to your place at Green Ganesha and try it. Yeah.
Maybe after the show. So, how about it, Baba? Is this Fruitonium, this new strain that you're having here, is this your favorite ever?
It's my favorite today.
No, I mean, I really like it. I'm a big fan of real gassy, just gassy, stinky weeds, you know?
Yeah.
Like growing up, like the SFV, the San Fernando Valley OG, one of the best, one of my favorites growing up. The true OG, it will always be one of my favorite strains. And you know, all the variations of it, the true OGs.
Girl Scout cookies.
I like this. I like the Scouts. You know, there's always a place in my heart for the Scouts. You know, but
First time I had it, I really, really liked it.
I mean, the first time we got Scouts, we ended up getting a cut for $3,000, a clone for $3,000. So it's when it first came out, and I didn't personally buy it. I was a grower at that farm, but like my boss bought it, and everyone was like, "Oh, it was like the holy grail." But yeah,
That was the Cannabis Cup winner, if I'm not mistaken, the year it came out.
I'm sure it was. I don't remember. In fact, you know, it's so funny, like, you know, being in the cannabis industry my entire life, I never followed the Cannabis Cups. I never followed the hype, you know. Up until, like, not too long ago, there was two kinds of weed. There was OG and everything else. and I don't know. When you're dealing with Chicago, man, you gotta know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, long time ago, you know, weed has come so far, now we're talking all these strains and doing, like, you know, all these fancy
That glue's
extracts.
gonna fucking go, bro. Sorry, that glue was no good on these papers. We might have to redo that.
Seems to be okay, but you
Hold on.
could mess with it if you want.
The glue's coming out here.
I mean, yeah, like you said, though, back in the day, it's like, you know, there was hydro.
Oh,
People, I
yeah.
mean,
In Vermont, it was like you were just getting compressed, probably like Mexican brickweed.
well,
on-
we had the beasters, you know?
Yeah.
That was the common thing.
I think I'm a little older than you. Like I'm
From British Columbia,
Yeah.
all the, you know,
That came in
hydro
with,
coming in.
yeah. We had some in Vermont. We called it kind bud, and it was just any herb that was grown by someone who knew what they were doing, and you would get whatever you got, and we're very thankful for it. So one of the great things about this, though, is that before, when cannabis consumption was underground, again, there wasn't a lot of talk going on openly in public, so you didn't know what was available. And one of the great things about this legalization is suddenly I know what everybody else has been smoking. And lots of people have been smoking some really good weed that I didn't know about. So that's been a really exciting part. I'm sure you guys have probably been surprised by some of the things you've seen, or maybe not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like the stuff that's coming out of the woodwork right now from these Thai growers, bro,
Yeah.
is just blowing me away.
Yep.
You know, some of the, you know, I put Fruitonium in the Cannabis Cup here. And, you know, to be honest with you, I was like, it's a winner, a sure thing, man. It's going to be a sure thing. And then the guy, yeah, right? But like literally 30 minutes before the competition, the dude who actually won the competition come up and showed me his weed. I was like, oh shit, bro, I don't know, man. Like, that's some good weed right there.
Instant humility. But
You know,
that's awesome, though.
Right. No, but I mean, like, I'm not jealous or anything. I'm like, I'm stoked, dude, that this guy's coming through and just putting out that fire, bro, because this is a craft industry, 100%. You know, it's a craft industry.
People are in it because they love it. People are passionate about growing. People are passionate about pushing it forward. And I love that, like, what I'm seeing from a lot of growers is talk about moving away from just like the highest THC content. You know, it's like nobody needs to get hit with a jackhammer all the time. You know, it's like focus on growing some weed with some good, interesting terpene profiles and like some some really like complex highs. That's what I'm looking for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the THC is only the red of the rainbow. Like it's only one. It's one part of the spectrum. And I don't know. I mean, I've been smoking weed my entire life, and like whether I smoke 32% THC or 17% THC, I mean, I want something that tastes good, that smells good. If I need to get higher, I'll smoke another joint. I don't need to I don't need to.
Nowadays with the extracts the kids are using, with all these, weird vape cartridges and, concentrates and dabs.
Have you
and
guys
all the
ever
other.
you ever heard of like GABA music? That like obnoxious EDM is like. That's kind of how I feel about like a lot of the concentrates. It's like, okay, I got it. I'm really high.
Yeah, I mean it's lovely, and there's a lot of that going on in the West. I think that's really what's becoming the popular thing for the industry. When is that coming here? That's kind of the question. Is it coming here?
Well,
It's already
it's here.
I know,
It's
but
like it's here.
when is it going to be here legally? I don't know. I mean, they got to legalize vaping in general because.
Well, there's a lot of I think we have to acknowledge that there are a lot of inconsistencies in the laws and a lot of things that don't necessarily.
So here's the question then. Dry herb vaping. So that should be perfectly okay then, right?
It's not a
In
concentrate.
theory, yes.
Yeah. It's just
In
flour.
theory.
Right? It's not like you're vaping the concentrate. You're vaping the flour. The flour's legal. How you
not
decide
extract.
how you decide to heat up your flour should be completely up to you. But
I agree.
That's a good
That's my 2
libertarian
cents.
standpoint. I can get behind that.
Hopefully the police agree. And,
even if they don't agree, I mean, right now, and this is a question for you guys, a question for everybody. Have we heard of any busts since June 9th? Has anybody been busted for extracts? I haven't heard of any of this.
I haven't heard either, but for me, like it doesn't, the edibles should be an extract in general, and that is a kind of something that's happening willy-nilly, as far as I see. So I mean, some people are pursuing the, very, straight and narrow, like baked here. But I mean. I don't know. Is everyone doing that? Like, there's edibles everywhere.
Well,
there's underground vape everywhere too. You see people doing that. So how safe is it? How safe is the cannabis? Are people using chemicals? There's no testing. There's no testing.
Well, I
So-
think that's a legitimate concern in Thailand, especially whether or not you're talking about the vegetables that you're eating, the fruit that you're eating, like what pesticides are on these, what chemicals have they been exposed to. And I don't have a lot of answers on that.
That's why, with what we're doing, we started going into a little bit about Sukhumvit and whatnot. And my organization, we have 7 of some of probably the biggest dispensaries in Thailand right now. We've got 6 on Sukhumvit Road, 1 in Phuket. We have to, because we're so big, we have to follow every letter of the law. We had foresight in this as well. On every single one of our locations, we have a Thai traditional medical dispensary attached to it. So we're really looking into all of this stuff, but we do not sell edibles. Right. We sell edibles very similar to baked. And we also have our Thai traditional medicine doctors that have created edibles for us, all legally. But we have no 1,000 milligram death brownies or something in there. I haven't seen a lot of those in our places. I have seen them around town, and we do my crew makes up some amazing edibles right now. But yeah, it's still a gray area, and you know what? I think we just gotta do it until someone gets popped, bro, and then we start figuring out the laws, man. It's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, I think there are some companies that are pursuing the cannabis space as testing companies that perhaps there should be more integration with. Yeah, I think that a lot of the pushback that we see from the Thai government, a lot of that could be alleviated with more testing and more of these kind of procedures put in place.
Yeah, we have all of our. I'm sorry, but we have all of our own in-house testing as well. Right. We have, for flour and everything, we have HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatography, something like that, and then we also have gas chromatography. And so with those two pieces of testing equipment, we're able to test pretty much the full spectrum of everything that could possibly be in cannabis, from terpenes to cannabinoids, and I'm sure we'll find some things in between.
Yeah, so if such things were actually built into the legislation, once again, perhaps some of the pushback we're seeing could be appeased. Who knows?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, cannabis has some really significant health benefits, treating a number of ailments, and the research has already been done. A lot of what I've seen, especially going back a few years ago when they first started legalizing, is like they're kind of starting from zero, which doesn't make that much sense because this research has already been done. But in any case, we have had some time for that research to be done, and the market has matured. The legal guys said that March or May rather, when the election happens, that's when we're going to see new legislation.
Yeah.
And it's status quo like it is now until then. Is there enough money in the business to push through and keep it going?
Absolutely,
the cannabis industry? Oh my Lanta. And just talking about edibles, there's so much that can go on in that space if it is eventually green lit. And I think it's just a net positive for so many people in the community. I hope that happens. But
well, the laws do make it welcoming, and a lot of new people have come in, even because it's just a safer place to do this hobby. You like to grow. It's a fun thing to do if you're good at it. There's not a lot of places in the world that you can go and you can kind of do it safely, even on a small scale. I think, that is the difference, and that is what Thailand has that other markets did not have.
Right. I just want to hit that edibles thing one more time before we leave it, right? Yeah. I'm actually, to be honest with you, edibles are scary, bro. And edibles are can give cannabis a very bad image. Because they have these 1,000 milligram brownies out there, and man, I've never smoked enough joints to get me to feel like I've had one of these 1,000 milligram brownies. I mean, it's you're hallucinating, it's psychedelic, it's a dysphoric experience.
Yeah, that's you're pushing into a cannabis psychosis, a deeply uncomfortable space.
And that's the problem that I tell people. And again, with the edibles that we're making right now, they're 2-to-1 CBD to THC. It's because they're so damn good.
Yeah.
If they were 100 milligrams each, I can't eat one.
Yep.
I eat the whole thing, So it's that's the problem with edibles, and especially tasty edibles. They can be extremely dangerous, and we got to watch our asses with those. And again, I've mentioned this to our clubs, with these extreme edibles, I would say for take home only. You do not let the people eat those in your club.
Right, because then they have to get home.
45 minutes later, they're going to be freaking out on your floor or just comatose. Yeah. One of the two. So, it's something that that I feel can be dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, I would agree with that. Everybody has a story of eating too much, and by the time you realize it, it's too late. Yeah. But I think another thing a point I like to make is that it's good to be in a very grateful position to Thailand right now, because they have allowed all of this to happen. And as much as there may be things that are confusing or hard to deal with, the fact that this is happening at all is a miracle. in my opinion.
It's amazing, yeah. I never moved here a dozen years ago. I would not have expected this to happen in my lifetime. Yeah, it's really something that is hopefully going to jumpstart the tourism industry again. I know the December bookings are up big. Is it because of cannabis? I think next year is going to be much bigger, and well, time will tell. But edibles are dangerous. The extracts also. I mean, like talking about like you just have this little vape cart. I wanted to address that. Like one little hit is sending some people over the edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially in terms of having these things in your shop and allowing people to consume in your shop, it's a slippery slope. It seems like, in general. But as long as it's in a private area, it's okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, the other thing to remember is that it only takes like one bottle of vodka for the average person to be like a total menace to society. It's about moderation as well. It's possible to overindulge in lots of pastimes.
And also hopefully somebody's not passing out on your couch in your private room from half an edible because
Right. Yeah, that's true.
they're a beginner.
But I think you have a good point about more regulation would ease some of the concern about it. And also, if people could, understand the dosage that they're getting, you'd have less chance of, really, bad side effects.
Sure. And this just comes with a general, like the baseline of education amongst the people needs to go up around the world. We all grew up sort of knowing how many beers it takes to get you drunk or how many shots of whiskey it takes to get you drunk. It's sort of like a baseline knowledge that we all learn in our early teens, and across the board. I mean, my parents drink alcohol in one way or like most people do. And it's like that first time you get drunk, like the first time you get smashed, shit-faced drunk. Like, it's like, oh, this shit's, it's an experience. It's a life-changing experience, And then when people are getting these, they're having almost the same experience when it comes to cannabis. They're having this life-changing experience that they've never felt like this before. And it'll slowly come around across the board. I think over the course of the next decade, we're going to start seeing the baseline knowledge across the world really come up.
Well, they do seem to be mirroring some of the legislation with alcohol, which is kind of good to see. That discussion should happen when, the naysayers come in and say, oh, cannabis is a drug. Well, so is alcohol, and it's much worse. So we should have that discussion. And alcohol is not used as medicine, and cannabis is. There are a lot of strong experiences out there. You have strong experiences when you're younger with alcohol. I think we all had some interesting experiences with cannabis when we were younger. I myself remember making a bowl out of an empty beer can I found in the trash, poking some holes in it with a knife.
For sure. That's how you start. The Coke cans, the apples, the carrots.
I was going to say the carrots. The carrots for me. Right. I had a peeler that would perfectly core it. It was just, for years, that was my go-to. But, I mean, I guess that's something we should address, too, is that, all things at the right time. I don't necessarily think that cannabis for young people is a good idea at all. And I would support, some type of legislation in the vein of what they do with alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we basically have with the 20 years old limit thing. And it does make sense, in the education part. And,
Yeah, like what do you think about that? Because that's a nuance.
I'm sort of on the fence with a lot of this. And yes, okay, I want to protect the children. I want to protect the pregnant women. I want to, obviously. But there are cannabinoids that can, used as a medicine, help everybody, not just adults. There are cannabis medicines that can and have shown to help children through different things. I'm not suggesting your 6-year-old should be taking a bong load.
Right. Yeah.
Wait until they're at least 8. You
Right,
know.
exactly.
But no. But I'm just saying across the board, like I think there is some application for children to be using cannabis in a safe, protected way. I don't think we should limit cannabis just for adults because if we're talking about the recreational aspect, sure.
Right.
Wait till you're old enough. I guess as adults, we're supposed to be responsible and say 20, but most of my friends were smoking joints between the ages of 13 and 18, started in there somewhere, but whatever, it's not that. And we also started drinking beer at the same time, but, I don't know.
Comes with the territory, but yeah,
And then
like Charlotte's
pregnancy.
Web was the big one.
Yes.
I think was the first one that was really used medicinally and purposely made for a child. So it's with the legalization, we're hopefully we'll see more of this kind of research and moves towards looking at it as actual medicine and instead of drugs.
Right. And I don't know the science behind it or anything, and I'm sure there's real doctors out there that can tell you, or maybe there's real doctors out there that could bullshit you. I don't know. But growing up in Northern California, all of the women that I worked with side by side in the fields, they all used cannabis during pregnancy, in maybe not like heavily, but to deal with some of the pains and stuff, all right? I'm not a woman. I'm not pregnant. I'm not an authority on this. I'm purely making an observation, is that all of their children turned out to be lovely, wonderful human beings, very intelligent people. So I would really like to understand the true dangers of it because I just don't know.
That's the thing. We don't know, and when we were kids, we definitely didn't know, which is why we use Coke cans.
Right.
How about
Cans, I thought you said something else.
no? Nothing about that. I don't know where your mind is, but nowadays we use better things. How about it, gents? What do we use now? Blunts, bombs, papers.
Still joints. Always joints.
Joints.
Joints for me too.
Always will be.
Bongs all the way.
Bongs
all
are
the way.
nice.
Yeah. And being in the country in which the bong came from, I think it's our social and cultural responsibility to use bongs as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Yes, we are supporting Thai culture and the Thai cultural image by smoking bongs. Unfortunately, we don't have one on the stage. Next episode, we'll be sure to have one.
Well, that's a good segue into cannabis culture in Thailand in general. I didn't realize that ganja, I grew up on the East Coast of America. I thought it was a Jamaican word, and not at all.
I actually don't think it is Thai. I
Oh, okay.
believe that came from. I could be wrong. Again,
So
not
I'm like-
authority,
I'm like
but
double
I think
wrong.
It came from I think it came from India and moved
okay.
and was picked up into
Yep.
Thailand as well.
It's like a loan word.
Right.
Sanskrit
But
word.
bong, for sure. Bong. Do you guys know what a bong is?
No. Well, yes.
Heard of the
You
word,
think you know
I
what it
think
is.
I know.
All right,
I'm confident.
and if there's any Thai people out there that can correct me, this is my understanding of this. A bong is a unit of measurement, yes, to measure bamboo. The sections in between bamboo, that's 1 bong, 2 bongs, 3 bongs of bamboo.
Oh my God.
And
Make a
going
bong out of a
way,
bong.
way back.
So I could have a 3-bong pipe if I really wanted
Three-bong
to.
bong,
I might
if
have
you
to
will.
a 3-bong bong. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That
So,
would be quite a bong.
yeah, a bong was just a unit of measurement. So they would say, cut 1 bong, bro, yeah. And then that just moved out.
Bro, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
I know, right? Very cool.
That's the idea here
Nice.
with the podcast. That's pretty much covers it, gents.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to ask if anyone has any questions about our,
At this point,
or if there's a giant hook
because we
that's
have
gonna,
a crowd for this episode, we would love to have some questions for the crowd. If anyone has any questions for us.
I enjoy concentrates in my own free time every now and then. And I know a lot of OGs and a lot of people who initially smoke joints. And I find that small amount, moderate myself, and kind of go with that. But I know you guys are trading a lot of words in terms of concentrates and things like that. So in a medical sense, what are your thoughts about it?
That's a very good point.
efficient delivery system, that's for sure.
Sure. I mean, it's. I think concentrates. It's all the medicinal properties of the plant concentrated into that. So yeah, I think concentrates are a very safe way to medicate. Easier on the lungs, easier on that. You got to know what you're doing a little bit more. But yeah, man, I think concentrates are where it's at really, because again, when people are trying to, if you look at what across the board, going back a long time, going back to the guy who first made it famous, which is Rick Simpson. I mean, that right there was like one of the first known concentrates, which is the Rick Simpson oil. He started out extracting with naphtha, which was a nasty shit, but he, eventually switched out. And most stuff, like most alcohol extracts and stuff, are considered Rick Simpson oil. And that right there, yeah, it's the concentrated medicinal properties of it. His original formula was 60 grams of oil in 90 days. And basically he was telling people, if you use 60 grams of oil in a 90-day period, you're going to cure yourself of cancer. That was his methods. I'm not saying that works or doesn't work. But yeah, if you were just trying to smoke the amount of cannabis that 60 grams of thing came out, it'd be difficult to get it in your system.
Quite a claim, yeah. And a lot of oil. Any other questions?
It's not a question. It's to support your point of view that I smoked my first joint in 1961, my first year of college, and then fortunately I didn't discover it again until 1966 when I was already graduated. And from that point on, I smoked close to every day for the last 66 years. And now I'm 79. It doesn't seem to have affected me detrimentally in any way.
Cheers.
Right on.
To that. Anecdotally, I took a break in January, and 1 month break, 30 days, no alcohol, no weed. And at the end of it, I was really proud of myself and smoked a big fat joint and, thought I was just going to go right into outer space, but really it was like I hadn't taken any break, and it was just just another joint. It was enjoyable, but not anything extra enjoyable. So the question I really have for you is there really a such thing as a perfect high?
Oh, the perfect high. Absolutely, there's such thing as a perfect high, but that's individual to each and every one of us. I can't say my perfect high is the same as your perfect high, and my perfect high tonight might change tomorrow. So I mean, it's the feeling of euphoria. That's what what we're looking for, in my opinion. And you need to find the perfect high. Find it in yourself, man.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's horseshit. It's OG Kush is the perfect high. Just gonna go. Joking.
well, so far for me, I haven't found it yet, but perhaps one day I will. I have a feeling if I keep following Boba Fett, I will find it one day.
Yes, start with
And,
Fruitonium.
One only.
Oh yeah, that was delightful. By the way, we didn't give any feedback. That was a very nice joint. Thank you, man.
Yes, it was quite nice. It definitely derailed the whole episode. Thanks for that. And so the last question I have for all of you, something to think about, something to take home with you. Who's hungry?